The Roane County Jane Doe, identified as Betty Lou Wisley. We begin here today in Roane County, Tennessee, near the town of Kingston on the 2600 block of Highway 58, beside a garbage dumpster. She had a number of clues as to who she was. For instance, she had a hysterectomy, breast implants, and a tracheotomy. There was a mole on the left side of her back, and it was clear she'd been the victim of a wound in her third thoracic vertebrae, as well as a .22 lodged against her spine. But this was in a past event and not this one. In this specific event, her COD wasn't ever disclosed. They noted that she was a smoker with nicotine staining on her dentures. She had brown hair that had been dyed a red color and was likely 35 to 50. Whoever did this set her remains on fire. They released a sketch of what she may have looked like, but no one came forward. In 1987, there was so little that could be taken from her case to even try to identify her, but they did all that they could, eventually classified her as a Jane Doe. Her case would unfortunately sit and have to wait for technology to catch up. The fact that they can identify DNA after fire is pretty amazing, and at one point wasn't a given that it would ever even happen. But of course, Othram Labs has moved mountains when it comes to some of these previously impossible DNA cases. We know now that Betty Lou Wisley was born in 1935 in Clinton, Missouri. She was 51 years old when someone did this to her. She would have turned 52 later that year. There's not a whole lot released about her, other than the fact that she had been living in Knox County, Tennessee, when this happened. It is so important that anyone who knew her comes forward. Even tiny details could make all of the difference. Because, of course, getting her name is only half of the story. The person who did this shouldn't get away with it either. Betty Lou Wisley went unidentified for 36 years. Had she lived, she would be 88 years old today. The Highland Park Jane Doe, also known as the Wayne County Jane Doe, identified as Mindy Clevidence. I covered this one over 2 years ago. It was actually one of the very first ones I chose to do. I'm not replaying the clip. My first microphone was terrible, and I talked entirely too fast. But I did want to use a little bit of a news clip that I broadcast in that video.
To get justice for Jane Doe.
She's one of hundreds of unidentified people in Michigan morgues tonight, most of them in Wayne County.
We've always thought of her as a kid.
As young as 15 or as old as 25. And according to the medical examiner's office, she could be biracial.
She was probably white and black.
Yeah.
She had her hair pulled back into a ponytail. She had very tight curled hair, but it was brown with a reddish tint to it. She was about 5'3" and she was almost 200 pounds. No makeup and covered in freckles. She was really dressed like a 5-year-old would have been dressed. She had a giant white bow in her hair. She had this white skirt, a shirt with a bunch of smiley faces and lip prints all over it. She had a teddy bear watch. Maybe she was special needs. Maybe somebody else had her dressed that way.
There was something about this case that was so compelling and also just so sad. And the police did try. There was press coverage, and they did recreations. And because she was dressed distinctively and her jewelry was somewhat distinctive, there was quite a bit of hope that maybe someone would come forward and recognize her, but it just didn't happen. Despite the recreations, no one identified her, and genetic genealogy was the only option. And the credit in this case goes to Intermountain Forensics, who's had quite a few come out lately, leading to the identity of Mindy Clevidence. There was some speculation in this case that she could be special needs, and I've not seen anything proving or disproving that, or addressing it at all. Probably the biggest holdup in this case was that Mindy was not from where she was found. Instead, she had come from a group home in Ohio. Mindy's mother would tell Fox News 8 in Ohio that she had been sent to a group home when she was a junior in high school. She'd really been struggling at home, and the Dayton, Ohio group home was supposed to offer her some support that she'd been needing. Something I don't understand is that she left the group home and her family wasn't notified. Her family would only discover that she was gone when they mailed her a package, and the group home would call to say they couldn't give it to her because she wasn't there. They could get no answers as to what happened to her, so it would eventually take their lawyer talking to the sheriff before they would finally disclose that she went to Detroit, Michigan. It's not specifically stated, but my guess is that Perhaps she told someone else in the group home where she was going. And this was the last on her whereabouts her family would ever hear, until she was finally identified. It would turn out that her family thought she was living her life out in the world and choosing not to contact them. And this is pretty frequent and normal, though I suppose there's a certain amount of hopeful thinking that goes along with all of this. Mindy's father would pass away in 2021 without ever knowing what happened to Mindy. I found his obituary and she's listed as surviving him. But even that was sort of a stark reminder of what had happened because they included where the other two siblings were living, and Mindy's name just sat alone. Mindy's mother, Paula, and her two sisters lived long enough to find out what happened to Mindy. It would turn out that one of Mindy's nieces would upload her DNA to a public database, and that changed everything. The niece was interested in finding out about her Irish ancestors, but she ended up finding so much more. Shortly after uploading it to the public database, Mindy's mom would get a call from one of her daughters, asking her to sit down and telling her what the DNA led to. Although not specifically stated, it appears that Mindy's case may have been one of those they were waiting on new DNA hits, because within just days she got a phone call. That call would come in from a detective in Highland Park, Michigan, requesting information about a close DNA match that happened. And this would, of course, bring up the fact that Mindy had also gone missing in Michigan. Subsequent DNA tests from her mother would confirm what they already believed that they knew. Mindy finally had her name back and was going to go home. Paula Clevidence, Mindy's mother, believes that God led her granddaughter to take the test and upload it, as this was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. And it was the final piece needed to give the family answers. Detectives have since personally delivered Mindy's ashes to Paula. The authorities have said that those in the home with her or others who knew her are desperately needed to come forward. So far, there's nothing to indicate at all how she ended up in that alleyway that fateful day. Police Chief James McMahon made this statement: "I want Mindy's family to know that our thoughts and prayers go out to them. We recognize that this is a very difficult time, and although it brings some closure, it also brings forth painful memories and unanswered questions." We do know that Mindy was born on October 15, 1978. It's stated that she showed sheep and market steers in a 4-H program. For anyone outside the U.S., it's an agricultural program for high school students. It involves agri-science and veterinary science, among others. They often breed and show animals. It's especially popular in rural counties. We also know that Mindy was involved in her local Baptist church. She's survived by her mother and 2 sisters. She has nieces and nephews that she didn't get a chance to know. They desperately need someone to come forward, even if it's anonymous. If you know anything, call the number on your screen. Mindy Clevidence went unidentified for 27 years. Had she lived the life she deserved, she would be 45 years old today.
Huge thanks for watching all the way to the end, and a big thanks to all of you who consistently like and comment on the videos. Whether you leave a full comment or an emoji, it makes a huge difference. The whole dance with YouTube is hard sometimes. I gain only about 350 subs a month. So if you consistently watch my videos, maybe take a moment to subscribe. It's a huge push toward the videos being suggested to new people. The next goal is 20,000. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other.